Hey guys, let's get more news about Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Heat have best case scenario in which they end up with a pair of top draft picks. After an eventful Sunday around the NBA, the Miami Heat gained some clarity on where two potential first-round picks in June's draft could land, their own, and one from the Golden State Warriors. The Heat will play the Chicago Bulls in the 9-10 play-in game on Wednesday. The game will tip at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time and be televised on ESPN. If the Heat lose Wednesday, then they will miss the playoffs and keep their pick, and owe their unprotected 2026 pick to the Thunder. Their 2025 pick will be entered into the NBA draft lottery with the 11th best odds. If the Heat win Wednesday and lose the second play-in game on Friday to either the Hawks or Magic, then they would also keep their pick with the 11th best odds. If the Heat win Wednesday and Friday and advance to the playoffs, then the Thunder would get their first-round pick in 2025, and the Heat would keep their pick in 2026. Should they fail to make the playoffs, the Heat will enter the May 12 NBA draft lottery with a 2% chance of landing the top overall pick and a 9.4% chance of climbing into the top 4. The lottery determines the order of the top 4 picks, with teams then picking in inverse order of record. The Heat own Golden State's top 10 protected 2025 pick as part of the Jimmy Butler trade. They will get the pick as long as it falls between 11 and 30. The Warriors, Grizzlies, and Bucks all finished 48-34, so a random drawing will determine where their picks land between 18-20. The Warriors lost to the Clippers on Sunday, dropping them to the 7th seed in the play-in tournament in the West. The Warriors will have 2 chances to win one game and advance to the playoffs. If the Warriors beat the Grizzlies at home on Tuesday, they will advance to the playoffs as the number 7 seed and face the Rockets in the first round. If the Warriors lose to the Grizzlies, they will be the loser of the 9-10 game between the Kings and Mavericks for a chance to advance to the playoffs as the number 8 seed. If the Warriors lose both play-in games and fail to make the playoffs, their pick would move up to 14th and be entered into the lottery. The Heat would still keep the pick unless it lands in the top 4, in which case the Warriors would keep their pick. In that scenario, the Heat would get Golden State's top 10 protected first in 2026. The Heat would have no first-round picks if they make the playoffs and the Warriors miss the playoffs and see their pick land in the top 4 in the lottery. But the Heat could also end up with 2 picks in the top 14 if both them and the Warriors miss the playoffs. There's a lucky scenario in which the Heat are choosing in the top 4 with their own pick and at 14 with Golden State's pick. The numbers crunch, Carrington hits buzzer beater and Wizards beat Miami Heat in final game. The Wizards committed to tanking for a tie with the Utah Jazz for the NBA's worst record this season. All established veterans were stripped from the rotation. None were added back even when two-way forward JT Thor was a late scratch, which left them with just 7 players available. A string of wacky and improbable plays, including a buzzer beater from Bub Carrington, who doesn't turn 20 for another 99 days. Utah will probably lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves, which will leave the Wizards with the NBA's second-worst record. That doesn't change their chances of getting the top pick in the upcoming draft, still 14%, it means they could drop all the way to 6th in a worst-case scenario instead of 5th. Hopefully the basketball gods grant Washington lottery favor as a reward for their semi-ethical tanking. Against the Miami Heat, the Wizards had just 7 players available. The oldest and most experienced of them was 23-year-old Justin Champagnie, who was recently converted to a full NBA contract from the two-way deal he had most of the season. Champagnie, who just completed his 4th NBA season, has 1,890 career minutes, 71% of which came this season. For comparison, Carrington played 2,458 minutes this season. Towards the end of the third quarter, we got into a conversation on the playback stream about the worst lineup head coach Brian Keefe could put on the floor in the final period, settling on Carrington, Champagnie, A.J. Johnson, Tristan Vukcevic, and Colby Jones. Heath kept that group out there the entire quarter, and they were outscored by 7. Securing the loss would have required getting outscored by 9, however. The final few minutes got wacky. Miami's Josh Christopher, who had an otherwise excellent final quarter, 15 points, 3 rebounds, an assist and 3 steals, missed a transition dunk, and then committed a backcourt violation when the Heat need simply to inbound the ball successfully and maybe make a couple free throws to lock in the win. Instead, the Wizards got the ball to Carrington with under 5 seconds to play. Carrington made a nifty behind-the-back dribble drive and hit a tough shot over 2 Miami defenders. The ball left his hand with just a tenth of a second on the clock and squeaked in for the first buzzer-beating game winner of his career. Heat linked to 3-time NBA All-Star after losing Jimmy Butler. The Miami Heat have been floated as one of the 4 potential landing spots for 3-time NBA All-Star Bradley Beal if he part ways with the Phoenix Suns this summer. John Gambadoro, the longtime sports radio talk show host of Arizona Sports 98.7 FM Phoenix, said that there's a 0% chance that Bradley Beal comes back to the Suns next season. And I truly believe that, you know me, if I go out on a limb, on something I'm probably doing it for a reason, Gambadoro said on Burns and Gambo show on Saturday, April 13. I don't see a scenario in which Bradley Beal can come back. Beal has 2 years and $111 million remaining in his 5-year, $251 million contract. The Suns tried to trade him this season to land Jimmy Butler, but Beal has a no-trade clause. Ultimately, the Heat relented to trading Butler to the Golden State Warriors. I don't believe you could trade Beal, Gambadoro added. I think you go to the offseason and you try before to agree to any type of buyout or anything like that. However, buying him out is easier said than done because of the large money owed to him. But if and when the Suns find a way to get rid of Beal, he's still a former 3-time NBA All-Star guard who just didn't fit next to 2 ball-dominant stars in Phoenix. Despite his clunky fit next to Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, Beal still averaged 17.0 points on a 50/39/80 shooting split, 3.7 assists, 3.3 rebounds and a team-best 1.1 steals in 32.1 minutes. I'll take that guy for $15 million, Gambadoro said. I spoke with somebody in the NBA last night, and I was like, okay, let's talk about where he's going to go. He said, Miami, Denver, Golden State, possibly San Antonio. And this is somebody that's in the know, and that's what he said to me, Miami and Denver, 2 teams that he could go to if there was ever a buyout. He said also to keep your eye on Golden State and maybe the Spurs, depending on the next coach, because for the new salary, $15, $20 million a year, you could withstand Bradley Beal missing 20 games with injuries. You can't withstand it when you're losing a guy making $40, $50 million a year that's going to go out. But for a $15, $20 million guy, and any team that gets Bradley Beal can make an argument that he'd be a better fit for that team than the Suns in Phoenix. The Heat had no interest to trade for Beal when they were shopping Butler because of his expensive contract and his no-trade clause, ESPN reported. But if he comes at a cheaper contract after a buyout, Miami will likely jump at the opportunity to add Beal. When the Washington Wizards were ready to move on from Beal in the summer of 2023, Miami was atop his list of next teams. The Heat chased Damian Lillard during that offseason but eventually lost him to the Milwaukee Bucks. So it left the door open for Beal to get to Miami. And you fan? What do you think about Bradley Beal's situation? Write to us in the comments.